Hello, everyone, and welcome to Origins by the Esports Awards, where we talk to some of your favorite content creators, streamers, esports talent, esports players, and all the people that make the cogs turn in esports. I'm your host, Morgan Tremaine, and today I'm joined by someone who is synonymous with Call of Duty esports. I'm talking, of course, about Rosalie Parker. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much. This is so cool.
Yeah, welcome to, at the time of recording this, we're at the Esports World Cup, and before we get into your origin story, I have to talk about a couple major losses that just happened.
Yeah.
We're saying goodbye to a dynasty with FaZe. What the hell happened?
That's the question I feel like all of us are asking, right? Because it's one of those situations where on paper, it's like they should be so amazing. They should be so good. We've seen it at the beginning of this year, Major 1 and Major 2, when they were able to take away the win. It was a battle against 100 Thieves. Like, they set the standard for Call of Duty. Teams were building to beat this team, and then having them fall out on day number 1 of EWC, it feels like we're saying goodbye to the trio. We're saying goodbye to what could have been a dynasty, and it's going to be really weird if they break up and seeing them on any other team than Atlanta FaZe.
I mean, I think it has to happen now. That has to be the next step. It's like, okay, well, now it's not working. It's like so many industries work like that. It's like you get one mess up. It's like, okay, this isn't working anymore. Rebuild it. Start over.
Yeah, and the thing with Atlanta is it's not even seen as one mess up at this point because their expectation was so high. We all expected them to just win at some point. You know, it was second place after second place. Like, we always could guarantee that they were going to make a Sunday. But for once, they didn't make a Sunday. And so now it's like, okay, at first it was just trying to get one through the hoop, but now we can't even get through the weekend. So for Atlanta FaZe, it's just like, I guess it just isn't working anymore.
And then we also saw Falcons get knocked out, too.
Oh, that was heartbreaking. I was really hoping that they'd be able to make a run because of how strong they looked near the tail end when they finally made a couple roster changes and they started to get some of these closer series. But unfortunately, same thing. You got to be good at S&D, and they weren't able to close out either of them in their final series, which is so funny because they've been focusing S&D all year.
It's a shame.
It's a shame.
I mean, that's one of those things, too. Again, I swear to God, we're going to get into Origins, but I have to talk about
too much fun.
I have to talk about Call of Duty. But do you think it's something about, I mean, is it just like the pressure of having to perform at that level, the pressure put on the teams? Do you think it's just a matter of time until that whatever special sauce kind of wears out as a team? Or is it something about COD in general, the competitive play of it, or the Esports World Cup? Like, what is it that made this different?
I think it's so interesting because it's one thing that I think is synonymous across all sports in general is on any given day, somebody could have a bad day. They could eat something bad. They could feel bad. They could have tension with a teammate. They could be in their head about something. You know, day by day, so much can change, and you're depending on 3 other people to give their 100% at all times, every single time you load into a tournament. And that's what makes it so difficult, especially in a situation like this, where some of them are jet-lagged or haven't been in this position before, or have things like roster mania looming over them. I know we had one player that couldn't even attend because of his anxiety being so bad, and that's a very real thing. And so I think that's where the difficulties come is it's hard to get everybody giving either 25% of the 100%, or some teams look at it, everybody giving 100% all the way through. So it's just so many factors on the outside. And for a lot of our top teams, we often say they're beating themselves because they get in their head because it's a lot of pressure. I mean, imagine placing second so much all year in the case of Atlanta FaZe, and people still don't think that's good enough. And people are still like, when are you going to win something? And it's like, oh my God, they're like one of the most consistent, best teams that we have. And it's still not good enough for the community and for the people sometimes. And I think that's across all sports deal with that.
Well, and even as far as like you think about, it's like, okay, well, the team needs to win, but it's so much more than a team. It's like the economy of the organization. It's like you have to win in order for the merch to sell, in order for the tickets to sell, in order for the content that they're putting up to do well. It is all part of a larger org, so that there's the added pressure of that. Everyone's jobs are on the line. They're expecting you to win, and if you can't deliver, then there's consequences for that.
100%. And again, that just goes right back to the pressure. It just keeps stacking. Like, it just keeps getting worse, which is also why you find teams that when they are kind of at the bottom of the barrel, they tend to surprise us. That's where we have underdogs and upsets and things like that. I think a really good example is how bad Optic had placed all year long, and they were constantly shifting people in their roster. And they were at rock bottom at one point. And because, you know, those players typically have the most pressure because they're on Optic Texas. It's one of the biggest fan bases that we have. They were at rock bottom. They weren't winning anything. No change seemed to be working. And yes, of course, Mercules came in. He did incredible and really, obviously, he is so consistent at what he does. He's a superstar, probably will be for years to come. but they had no pressure on them anymore because they'd already done basically the worst that they could do. So at that point, you're just going in like, all right, like we can't do any worse than we've already done. And sometimes that's where you find some of the best runs, like champs, like now, because once that momentum starts, it's easy to keep it going because you have nothing to lose.
Exactly. All you can go is up. That's all you got.
You can go is up.
It's like, hey, let's try some stuff because whatever we're doing isn't working. So let's screw it. Let's blow it up. Let's try something new.
And it's really hard to replicate that type of freedom. It's really hard to put yourself in that mindset in any other way than actually being at rock bottom.
Absolutely. All right. So let's talk about your origins now. What is your...
Speaking of rock bottom, I'm just kidding.
Well, all right. What is your first gaming memory? Like when did you start becoming a gamer?
Actually, my first gaming memory is with my dad. I think I was like 9 years old. It was the original Modern Warfare 2, and he was playing the campaign on Terminal. And I think everybody knows where I'm going with this.
Oh, yeah.
It's when these civilians were...
no Russian.
Not treated very nicely by the players of the game. We didn't have a choice, obviously, to make it through the campaign. But I was 9. I believe I was sitting in my dad's lap at the time. It's like one of the only core memories I have as a child, and watching him play through the campaign at that moment in time. And he's what got me into gaming, and my older brother. So I'd say that was probably my very, very first.
I feel like for a lot of people, it is like a family affair.
Yeah.
Video games. Like it used to be very, very communal. It is in a way now too. But when it was like on with the sofa, when we had the sofa, it really was a family affair.
It was a family affair for me for sure. My mom wasn't into gaming, but I infected her later on in life. So I ended up making my whole family a bunch of nerds because my mom didn't play. She was, as some parents are, super against it because it would take you away from school and all that. But when I first started streaming in high school, I was like, Mom, I have a great idea for a stream because I just started streaming. I was like, I want to teach you how to play Fortnite for content. And she actually really liked it. And my dad jumped on it. He was like, I'm buying her a PS4. He got her a monitor. He made a little setup next to each other in the spare bedroom because my brother had moved out. And I would walk in.
We love supportive parents.
They'd be playing Fortnite. And I'm like, oh, what have I done?
That's awesome. So speaking of your content creation, you talk about getting into content creation. When was the moment where you decided to go from content to making this sort of like a career move, more hosting? Like when did that door open? When did that thought come into your head?
It wasn't a thought, actually. I was kind of thrown into it. When I was in high school, that's when I first got introduced to gaming and esports and content creation by a friend of mine who was in the Destiny community at the time. And I'd already been playing COD casually. I was a hardcore Black Ops 2 grinder. And I'm competitive by nature. A lot of people don't know this. I played a lot of sports growing up. I come from a very athletic, competitive family. And so that ignited something in me. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And so I went to my first gaming event, Anaheim 2018. And it was World War II. And I just remember that was a time where content creators were just kind of trying to hang out and meet friends online. And I was glued to the event. I loved it. I was like, competitive COD is so cool. Like I got so
There's
invested.
no scene like it.
There's nothing
I swear.
like it. And so after that, I was like, I'm going to compete. I want to compete. And so Black Ops 4 was coming out, and so I started playing 8s. I went to a local LAN, and that's where I made some of my closest friends who were actually running it at the time. Shout out to Shoni. And I was competing at a LAN in Texas, actually, during Black Ops 4. It was the open bracket back when it was MLG. And I got brought onto the open bracket stream for an interview. That's back when I believe Rich was the host. And they just talked to me about the game, and I kind of nerded out a little bit. And a few months later, after that, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, I just got an interview on the stream. This all girl playing video games. Like, that's fun. And a few months later, 4 days, literally, I swear, 4 days before Anaheim 2019, I got a Twitter DM from the producer of the show asking if I wanted to cast Open Bracket. And I didn't know anything about casting. I mean, I watched the games, but I wasn't really tuned into broadcast or the casters or anything. I was more focused on being a competitor. And I told him, I was like, I've never done that before. And he's like, that's totally fine. We'll show you the ropes and whatever. So I'm like, I'm not going to say no, of course. Yeah. So before I knew it, they booked me a flight. They flew me out. And I kind of just got tossed to the wolves. I mean, open bracket, there's 64 teams. You know nothing about them. And we went from being on the desk, and then I would go and cast, and I was running around the venue asking teams, what is your team name? What are your players? What roles do they run? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just essentially like, all right, good luck, have fun. And so I just kind of had to get on my own 2 feet and figure it out.
And you took to it pretty fast?
My knowledge got me through, for sure. I knew the game very well. I was in IGL, and I was very nerdy when it came to Call of Duty. So I feel like my knowledge got me through, but there is some pretty embarrassing clips of like me trying to iterate what I'm trying to say and get it out in the small time frame that you're given without sounding like an idiot. And unfortunately, a couple of times, I definitely sounded like an idiot. But it comes with, I didn't know what I was doing. So practice makes perfect.
You got to climb Cringe Mountain to get to the other side.
Yeah,
that's important in anything.
I'm pretty sure there's still a clip out there where I basically explain what Hardpoint is, even though I was trying to explain what a money hill was. And of course, I didn't know how to say it at the time, so I sound super ridiculous.
Well, now you've moved on to CDL, and you're doing a lot of other amazing... what is CDL like versus some of your earlier experiences? Because you started off doing more challenger sort of things.
Yeah, so I started off open bracket and casting, actually. A lot of people don't know that. I was actually supposed to be brought up to the CDL as a caster. Ton was going to be my casting duo. But as things work, the first event of the year, a few years back, when I got promoted, I guess, he couldn't make it because of visa issues, which is funny because that's the same reason that I even got the job at Anaheim 2019, because some European talent was having visa issues. And
close the borders, give other people more opportunities in esports.
So they were like, well, we need to have you work somewhere. And they were still searching for a third person for the desk at that time. And so we're just going to put you on the desk for this event. I was like, okay. And I'll never forget that weekend. It was so silly. I got all the predictions right and all the map counts, which predictions I think are so silly because they aren't a true value of... It's not my job. My job is to explain to you what I think is going to happen and why the maps the maps picked are good and the history of this team and what they tend to do, and then post-match explain to you, oh, well, this is why they lost and this is why they won. But they were like, you know what, you were great on the desk. Do you want to just stay there? And I was like, yeah, I love it because I can have my notes. You have more time to prep.
You can get deeper into it.
Yeah. And CDL is definitely, I don't want to say easier, but you were in the gauntlet back in MLG and CWL days. You were casting back-to-back matches constantly. There was 1,012 things going on. So being in the CDL now, it does feel like a bigger breath. I can be much more prepared. I can be much more in-depth with what I have to talk about. And also, it just seems more, I want to say, formatted in a way. I love that we have franchise teams, and I feel like the fan bases are much more easy to follow, and it's easier to get into it maybe than back in the day. I feel like back in the day it might have been a little daunting because there was so much that you had to catch up on and learn.
That's a good point. It's a little more digestible now. Yeah. So it's interesting to see now, especially in this competition, we're seeing some challengers teams playing with CDL teams. What is it like seeing that kind of competition? In
Love it. So reminiscent of old days. So that is the one thing I do miss about when I first joined the teams, is just the amount of upsets that could happen and new talent that could come through and shock everybody. That first event that I ever went to in Anaheim, I remember, I don't think it was Team Singularity, but there was some open bracket team that had made it against some of the pro teams and was just slamming them, and we were all so hype about it because we were like, oh my god, what is happening? Because that's what creates the excitement. That's the original underdog story of COD, is when open bracket teams would come in and just start beating some of the professionals, right? So that's what I really love about the EWC format, is that we get to kind of have those moments. For the first time, it's only been 2 years of COD at EWC, and now we've already had a challengers team that's making it into the weekend and dethroned the champions.
Yeah, so on a world stage.
It's incredible. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, got that spanked so hard. That was wild. All right, so I know that I think we both feel very passionate about Call of Duty. What do you think it is, if you had to put it in a word? What is it about Call of Duty versus Rocket League versus Overwatch versus League of Legends? It's what is it? Is it the game itself? Is it the fact that it changes every year from game to game? Is it the legacy of players we have and the caliber of talent that we have? What is it to you?
I'd say it's probably 2 or 3 things for me. One, it was the first game my dad introduced me to that I got hooked on. So for me, it's more of a childhood thing, it's core memory. It's
close to your heart.
It's what I gripped onto right away. So I think if it was any other game, I probably would have done the same thing. But on top of that, it being COD, and the reason I specifically like multiplayer versus battle royales and things like that, because I play other games. I personally love League of Legends. It's my favorite game behind COD right now.
Me too.
And they're completely different. But for COD, I just like the way that some things are consistent, but other things are a little bit more variable. And the thing that is variable is the players. But I like that the maps are consistent. I like that spawns, they've been a little weird the past couple of years, but more than not are pretty consistent and predictable. It does take a lot of strategy, and I do really appreciate that, but it also just takes a lot of talent and skill too. And the third thing is the players. I think esports in general has a really unique situation where the players, you can have such I don't want to say personal relationship with them, but they all go and they stream, they create content. You get to know them. I feel like a lot more than not only traditional sports. I don't know how other esports are. I'm sure it's similar. But I think they're all really great guys. I've had the pleasure of being alongside them, a lot of them, for the past couple of years and getting to know them. They're all really cool, really funny, and they just all treat each other like brothers. And for me, growing up with an older brother, it's very reminiscent of that time. So I just feel like it keeps me young. Not that I'm old, but and I feel like we all just keep each other young in COD.
So looking at COD, it's evolved so much over the course of its life, especially in esports. We had CWL and we've had the CDL, and now we're in Esports World Cup. Where do you see the scene going in the next few years? We just saw the fall of a dynasty. What does the future hold for COD Esports?
For COD, I think we're just kind of keeping in the same path that we're in right now, franchising in cities, and I do hope that we expand at some point. I'm hoping that the format changes a little bit to allow more opportunity during the regular season for challengers to have more impact, but I think we're heading that way because of the impact challengers have had in the past 2 years. I feel like we are bringing in more and more young talent that is completely changing some of our super teams, middle of the pack teams.
It's like even people you can't ignore.
Yeah, like even bringing up Neptune, it completely changed Vancouver Surge. They became a top team, and they weren't even in the conversation really at the beginning of the year. Bringing in Mercules, oh my God, like he won a world championship. He has a ring, and he's at like his 4th or 5th event at this point. I also really love that EWC is a thing. I think it will become a big staple for our season as well as we head towards near the end of the year, because I think people will start taking club championship a little bit more seriously, and for that I think I see a lot more of the organizations that are involved in the club championship and are fighting for that top spot to now look to get into COD. And to me, that means there has to be expansion at some point, because people are going to be fighting for that first spot. And we only have 12 teams, and we already have 12 organizations. So I'm hoping to see expansion, and I'm hoping to see the club championship have a little bit more, weight to it when it comes to Call of Duty.
That's fair. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So if, let's say, Call of Duty disappeared tomorrow for whatever reason, God forbid, what a tragedy that would be for the world. What game would you move on to, do you think? What would you want to cast?
I'd want to go to League. 100%.
Yeah.
I'd want to go to League.
That's fair.
I love League of Legends. It takes like 3 months to even barely understand the game. But same thing, the consistency in the map, but the differences in characters and strategy and just the amount that you have to think about. And it takes a lot of IQ, I feel like. A little bit more than COD. You can kind of run and gun a little bit in Call of Duty, but League of Legends, you got to think about it just a little bit more. So I would totally probably try to go to League.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the COD community in your experience, because I know that it has a certain reputation to it. It can be sort of a boys' club. It can be highly toxic. It certainly has a reputation as such. What's your experience been with the community?
That's tough. I've definitely gotten both ends of the spectrum. I've, obviously made some of my lifelong friends in the community, and I've received a lot of love and support. It's like with anything. The bigger the community, the higher the percentage of people that are jerks and people that are good as well. I think one big issue COD faces right now is it's sort of a battle on both fronts. We do have a girls community. I've very much tried to cultivate and fund the girls community a little bit more. But unfortunately, it's, like I said, a battle on both fronts. The girls as well as the guys in the community can be very immature because, at the end of the day, a lot of the times when we are super into gaming, it's people that don't go out too much. We stay inside. We don't, go out and party too often. We prefer, we're little introverts.
It's a lot of indoor kids, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of indoor kids. And so it does hurt, I feel like, our social adaptability. I can't speak.
There's some arrested development that happens, unfortunately, and that's not always the case, but certainly it's prevalent.
But it is prevalent, and unfortunately, it's because there's not a lot of reprimanding. Because on both sides of the spectrum, people feel very they have a lot of audacity online, behind screens and as things are. But on the flip side, people are also really shy. They're scared to speak up. They're scared to call people out on certain things. You get two very extremes of the spectrum, and that's what can make communities in gaming very difficult. I feel like not only in COD, but across the board. I'm cool with, it being male-dominated. I grew up with an older brother. I've been here for so long. And my personality already is pretty COD-coded, so I get along pretty well with the guys. But on the flip side of the community, it's just two very extremes on both sides.
What's one thing you would change about the COD scene?
Ooh.
Could be an in-game thing, could be esports related, could be just deleting a certain player, forcing PC, forcing console, anything.
Would probably move all of the players to one place. I would want they did it once, very, very long time ago in Columbus, Ohio. I wasn't a part, I wasn't working back then, but I would probably try to move all the players to one place and work the online league instead of online, do it on LAN, and make content series out of the players, their day-to-days. I'd make them intermix and hang out with each other and talk with each other and truly make it a professional league community, because I feel like even back then when it was happening, it really sets us apart how much we indulge in our own content and our own personalities. And something special about COD is I feel like a majority of the players all get along. They're all friends. So I'd put them all together. I'd make them all live in the same city around each other and create endless content out of it. And when we do online matches, do it on LAN in the studio nearby and do it for a couple of months.
We need a reality show.
Like a reality show.
I'd enjoy that. All right, let's get into some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Favorite Call of Duty title of all time?
Black Ops 2.
Totally fair.
Easy. Most
memorable CDL moment on the desk?
When we were in Dallas, Texas for an event, and I made we call the cat curse, and it essentially came from every time I picked against Optic, they would win. And so I kept doing it throughout the entirety of the weekend. And, typically when we pick against Optic, the crowd will boo. And I made it far enough where for the first time on the desk, I picked against Optic in the cat curse fashion, and the entire crowd cheered. It was so loud, and it was just like this moment where I was like, oh my God, I made the green wall cheer for pick against them for once. Of course, in their head and in my head, it was the cat curse, and really I was trying to pick them.
And COD crowds get loud.
Yeah, they get super loud.
Rowdy, yeah.
They get super loud. I wear my headset at events because I don't do well with loud noises, but I love sitting in the crowd and watching and feeling the energy. It's always a really good time.
Who's a caster or an analyst that you really look up to in any scene?
Ooh, in any scene, I don't watch too many of other games, so I think my easy answer is Miles.
Miles is great.
Miles is incredible. One of the first talent I truly ever had the first couple of interactions with, and he is just so incredible at what he does. He's so adaptable, so on his feet, and just really great.
Yeah, he's a natural.
Very natural.
Absolute natural. Non-gaming hobby that keeps you grounded?
Cooking. I love to home cook. In my free time, you will often find me streaming cooking. I'm really into health and what goes in my body, and cooking really just grounds me.
One word to describe the Call of Duty community?
Chaos. Chaos.
That is very fair.
Chaos. Good chaos. I love it, but chaos.
Yeah. All right, if someone asked you how to build a meaningful career in esports hosting, balancing passion, professionalism, personality, what would you tell them?
Hosting. Hosting isn't really my area of expertise, but from what I've been able to watch from the greats, Lottie, Chris, even Miles has had to hop on the mic before, you have to be pretty extroverted, I'd say, very on your feet. I would practice just when you don't know what to say, have filler. Have something you can say. Be very quick to change, very quick to adapt. As far as, do you want to know how to get into it? Or...
I think we like practical advice here. Anybody watching this might be thinking, how do I get into it? It always seems very insurmountable. And I know it can happen where, as a producer, I know we can look for talent in certain places. But yeah, what would you give as advice for how to practically get into it?
How to practically get into it? Find the smaller leagues. College COD does it. I do it with WXC. There's a bunch of little leagues. Even if you just want practice, I would join 8's Discords and ask if you could codcast and watch the game, specifically if you want to be a caster in that facet. But experience, I think, is the biggest thing. Not even experience, having proof of you doing it is the biggest thing, because it's one of those jobs where you can't really just like explain to someone that you're good at it, and you can't just put it on a piece of paper or a resume. It's much better when you're able to just be like, look at what I can do, and you have a video and you have whatever. So even if you're recording yourself, even if it's not actually a big event, even if you're not getting paid for it, make sure that you have videos of yourself doing the work, because there's constantly openings, I feel like, when it comes to esports, because we're still fairly young as far as like the entertainment industry goes.
Yeah, this didn't exist 2 years ago.
Exactly. So it's still very, very young industry, and a lot of the times, again, like how I found my job, they were searching for somebody on the desk. And I'm sure had somebody been wanting to be an analyst for Call of Duty and had gone and watched the series and recorded themselves talking about it, being like, okay, the series that I just showed you, whether it was an 8 series or not, I'm going to break it down for you as if I was live on broadcast. Imagine emailing that to a producer. They're able to watch, they're able to see how you do on camera and how you do on your feet, and that's easy. Versus just sending an email, hey, I would like to do this, this, and this. My name is X, Y, and Z. Obviously, that's always important, but it's just people are very visual creatures, and it's so much easier if they're just able to witness what you're capable of doing.
Great advice from a pro. Thank you so much for joining us. Let people know where they can find you, what you're up to next.
Oh, God, what I'm up to next? I'm actually releasing music soon as well. I'm one of those people that just likes to do whatever the heck I want. But if you want to find me, CXTBBG on Twitter, RXSAIDA TTV on Twitch, Instagram, RosieCXD, same thing. If you look up RosieCXD, you'll probably find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you all for watching. Be sure to subscribe to all the Esports Awards podcasts, all of our shows. Check the website. You can vote right now for the Esports Decade Awards, and check back for all the rest of the shows for the rest of the years to come, all of our side content, side project. We're always coming out with new stuff, always looking to find the next big person to talk to as far as like esports in any capacity. So we love you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.